I have a question for both of you. How it all started? Like, how did you came across this non-dual pointing, and how did you felt it once you've met it?
Yeah, Bob, you first.
It's a long story.
I know, but a very interesting one.
Nice to meet you too.
I was thinking of really visiting you at some point many years ago, but Australia from Poland, it's such a long distance, and that I just didn't have a chance.
Kath made it.
I made it. It's not that hard.
She made it. Yeah, but I think she was living there before, no?
Yeah, no, actually, life took me there without any effort. I mean, it just unfolded this way. I live here for 10 years. I used to just
Only 10.
only 10 years. Yeah, I used to just work at sea and live anywhere. I mean, live on the ships. And then
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. I thought you were living in Australia and you guys met there, but you didn't, yeah?
no, actually, we met in Australia, yes, but I wasn't living there 10 years ago. 12 years ago, I was in Poland. Then I went to America. And well, I was living everywhere because I was an offshore worker. I was working on the ships. So eventually, life brought me to Australia, and then I met Bob, and that's
Wow. Beautiful. So beautiful. I mean, your meeting is amazing. When I was in Bali this year, I was close to Australia, and at some point I have the feeling, oh my God, I'm so close. I'm gonna go and visit those guys in Melbourne. I really felt like going, but it didn't happen again. So I felt, okay, it doesn't happen in life, so we could at least connect via internet.
yeah, that's better than nothing. And still, we are all here.
I know. Yes, we are. Ah, beautiful.
Have to give me one.
So,
It is. I put the volume very, very loud because
it's not too. Maybe I will put it louder myself. No?
it's, I made it intentionally loud for Bob because
That's better. I can hear you now.
Now it's better, yeah? It wasn't good enough before?
Well, she turned the hearing aid down.
Okay.
She says when she turns them on, I don't speak loud enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I can't hear. So now she's
Okay.
I can hear you. I hope you can hear me.
yeah,
I'm very happy to hear you fully, and to see you and to meet you, really.
Ditto.
Ditto. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I was
Yes.
actually, as I mentioned, I was showing Bob the beautiful recording, the wonderful music and the words, and all spoken in a language he understands. And
Yes.
translated the titles of your satsangs for the last 2 years. I just looked for something in English, and I looked at the titles, and they were so beautiful, beautiful words, beautiful titles. I just translated them to just show him how much we really are on the same page, and to which extent we even use the same language.
Yes, yes. I had the same impression when I've met you maybe 10 or 12 years ago via internet. And I was in Denmark back then. I was sharing satsang in Denmark then. And at some point I've met your videos, and I straight away I felt, oh my God, this is it. This is it. And it is like a water in the desert. Just even, turning on your video when you share satsang from your home. It's so beautiful. And also I remember that while hearing one of the satsang this 10 or 12 years ago, I heard you, Kate. And I just heard your voice because you didn't record people asking questions back then, I think. And I heard your voice, and my first impression was, she's clear, and then she must be Polish because of the accent. I felt that you must be Polish, and my feeling was I would really love to meet that woman, and I was intentionally listening to your talks and waiting for you to speak something. So it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
And then when I heard the way you guys met and this beautiful love story, it's so touching and beautiful.
Yeah, it was. I was really, really elated when I got the first message from you, because at that point I actually heard about you from some of the people back in Poland who were telling, "Oh, look, there is a lady in Poland who does the satsang. Check her out." I didn't really know where and how, but you actually told me there was something in English, and I remember showing it to Bob. That was quite a few years ago. And what a wonderful thing that that massive population there, twice bigger than Australia, there has someone who showed them the light, as someone who shines that clarity. That's just just.
Thank you so much. I have a question for both of you. How it all started, like how did you came across this non-dual pointing, and how did you felt it once you've met it?
Yeah, Bob, you first.
It's a long story.
I know, but a very interesting one.
Okay. I don't know if you've heard of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
Well, I was addicted to alcohol, or seemingly so,
Yes.
into big trouble. And I had no spiritual understanding or beliefs. I was dead against all this religious crap, really. But I went to the fellowship and stopped drinking. And stopping drinking, felt I came good again. I got cleaned up and was able to get a job and work and got a bit of money together. And of course, they had 12 steps on the wall to a spiritual program. I didn't believe in any of that, so I left the fellowship. I've stopped now, I'll be right. But I wasn't. So I got into the booze again, the grog, and took another 9 months before I got that bad that I went back to the fellowship and stopped drinking again. This time, somebody handed me a book called Sobriety Beyond, written by a Catholic priest who was an alcoholic. Stating that we alcoholics are given a second chance at life. And that hit me like a boom. I've been here, drunk and deadbeat, and I know hope. I got sober, got clean, got out of it. Now I'm back here again. I've been given a second chance. And underneath that question, he had the question, how well do you use that second chance? And that was like another big whack in the stomach. It came to me, only one way I can use it. Find out what it is that's given you that second chance.
Wow.
That started me on the spiritual search. Being a Westerner, I looked into Christianity and all the things that took me to the Eastern stuff. And
that was a search for higher power, right?
Yeah.
Just what is the higher power
which they call in the fellowship God as you understanding. 17 years later, it took me into the East and took me to Nisargadatty. I went to a lot of other teachers and all the rest.
Muktananda first.
And how was the meeting of how was your first impression when you've met this great teacher Nisargadatta Maharaj? You have a privilege to spend a year with him almost, yes?
Yeah. Well, that was the first one was the Maharishi.
The TM meditation.
Then looked at
yes.
And took me to the Nisargadatta. When I first, I didn't want to go and see him because I was loyal to the guru. He's just supposed to be. But something made me. I went into a bookshop looking for a book in India and walking out, couldn't find anything that suited at the time. It didn't seem to. And the fellow behind the counter, he says, this is a book you should read. It was I Am That. Now, I'd seen that time. People had offered to me before, and people had offered to take me to see him, but I didn't want to have a bar with him. You know, I was loyal to the guru. But with this one, this hit, I thought, well, I picked up the book and had a look at a few pages, and what I saw resonated immediately. So I went round and saw him straight up. It wasn't far away. And I heard what he was saying, and that was it. And he told me what I'd heard many times before, that you were already that. And this time I really heard it. That was the end.
That's beautiful. Yeah, sometimes we can hear the sentence many times, but we don't hear it, no? And suddenly, in the right circumstances, you just hear it.
It took me back to Australia, and I started talking about it.
First on the AA meetings.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
And
First on the AA meetings. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
and people started to hear it. And then the AAs, but I was talking to druggies and alkies all the time, and in AA they have the first name. So that's where the Sailor Bob come. There was Geordie Bob, there was Nagranie Bob, there was Big Bob, and I was a sailor. I got called Sailor Bob. And then I introduced me to go to speak. That's how the name came about, and that's how it stuck.
Okay, so this is how it was. Oh my God, amazing. Amazing. Yeah, so I've heard that not only you, but some of other non-duality people who point to non-duality first came across AA, and I found that AA, this movement is also amazingly supportive, also for non-dual message, I believe.
Yeah, if you know where to look, you find it there. You find it. I'm not AA member. I did go to Al-Anon, which is a 12-step support group for the families and friends of alcoholics, and they do have part of the literature that if you resonate, you will find when they say that the only problem that we have is selfishness, self-centeredness, and self-obsession. And self will run riot, and you pray to that alleged higher power to remove that bondage of self, basically just relieve you from that bondage of self, which, how could it be removed if it was real? It isn't. So it can be found if you know where to look. It can be found everywhere if you know what to look for.
Yeah, beautiful. And how do you found it after meeting non-duality? Did you felt like still continuing AA meetings, or you just stopped?
No, I still continue now and again, but this stuff became more important, and more people had come to see about this and didn't have the time to go to the fellowship. But I just went the other week.
On Sunday, a few days ago, 3 days ago.
64 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And how that is happening, no? So that what do you think? What it was? It was this message of satsang, of non-dual pointings, which allows you that freedom from addiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It had to happen that way. I see now. Before I didn't understand any of it. But I didn't set out to be an alcoholic when I was a kid. I didn't say, Daddy, when I grow up, I'm going to be an alcoholic and be drunk and do all the things that it didn't happen that way. But it did happen. I started drinking, and my nature must have been so that stubborn enough. It had to take me into the depths before I could recognise and see the light, which I eventually did through, as I pointed out, I got to the fellowship and saw it 17 years after I started the search. And by the time I started the search, I was in a very bad way. I've been drinking for years. That 17 years had turned into about 40 or 50 years now.
48, I think. 76 he met Nisargadatty.
So how many So how many years you guys are you Bob are sharing? It's like
40,
50?
48 years from 76.
48 years. Amazing. That's amazing. And how do you find do you notice in these years change of people coming to see you? Do you notice a change of, I don't know, of the approach, of the maturity? How do you see it?
Yeah, well, people get here from all different ways. You know, you never know who's going to turn up or why or how they get there. Just the same, I suppose, people know where I'd turn up or get there. It took me where I needed to go. And it brings people where they recognise and realise a lot, you know, are not attracted. And I've seen so many that have come along and couldn't grasp it and left. A lot have died, and some have come back 30 odd years later.
Yeah, realizing that it was there already, but they couldn't see it maybe.
What about you? Tell us about you.
How it was for me. For me, it was by accident at first. First, I've met the book of Paul Brunton, The Search of Secret India, where was the pictures of Ramana inside. And I was just playing piano in my piano teacher's house, and I just took this book and I look at the picture inside, and this picture stopped me so much, and I started crying when I saw this picture, because it's really amazing. Till now, I feel it's one of the most beautiful pictures ever made. And the impression was inside, what is this? Why am I reacting like that? So I read the book, and the end of the book was some of the pointings, and it brought me into some state. I didn't know what it is, because I had I know nothing about spirituality before. But I forgot about it. And a couple of years later, I got sick seriously, and I had tuberculosis. And my impression was with myself back then that my mental suffering was just so exhausting. I couldn't sleep. I was hearing my mind complaining over and over again, emotion complaining all the time. And I couldn't sleep at night. And one night, I woke up as usually, and where I couldn't sleep. And at some point, just suddenly, I had the feeling that if I'm watching the thoughts, that's it. If something is watching thoughts, if something is seeing that, if something is seeing those emotions, it's just can't be me. That has to be something else what I am, because I'm noticing that. And also, I didn't know what it is. I just felt it's not possible that I am the body. It's not possible that I am that what I see. But again, I didn't have any spirituality background, so I didn't know what it is. But it was a huge relief. Like lots of fear just disappeared, and I didn't know what's happening, even no spirituality background whatsoever. And then I went to India 6 months after with my family, with my 2 kids, and I went to Ramana Maharishi ashram. Because I remembered that picture, and I felt, okay, I'm gonna go to see the ashram of this guy. And I felt great, amazing, everything was good. But at some point in one restaurant, somebody came to me and said, look, but there are people nowadays who point to that what Ramana was pointing. And I was like, it's not possible. It's not possible that these people exist. And immediately I felt, oh my God. So I started running for satsang, and I've met Muji there in Tiruvannamalai, and I went for satsang, and satsang was in English. I did not understand English much back then, but when I came to the room, I felt they are talking about it. this is it. And that is how it started.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So I can say no, but just by accident, by accident, the sickness helped, because I don't know if even if I would heard the message before, I was so busy with life. If I would just stop with the clarity, I would just run after some other things, maybe, I don't know.
It's to say by accident, but it wasn't by accident.
Yeah.
Life,
Yeah.
life knew where to take him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we're lucky enough to be open to follow it.
But it is amazing how the suffering often facilitates the search. And you weren't really, because this is what I notice in our groups. A lot of people come from, like a broken nest, the childhood trauma, the suffering, deeply ingrained suffering, social anxiety, all sorts of really, really crazy, dark states that they struggle with. That is exactly what Bob was at when the alcoholism put him down to the bottom, to really rock bottom. And you didn't really go through that. You don't, your family is fairly healthy, and you have, you've been fairly
Yeah,
healthy.
it was quite. I had quite easy background, I might say. So it wasn't through suffering. I just felt from the young age, from really being a kid, that the way people understand world, or my parents or people all around, it's something weird. It's strange. It's like childish behavior, but I didn't know consciously how could I perceive differently. But I felt something is strange, and I had a relief every time where I was in nature, or I had a relief when I've met Ramana's pointings, or still now when I see satsang perspective. And the perspective of the mind, it's totally uncomparable, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how was it for you, Kate?
Well, life also just starts really when that realization lands, because I think I was one of those suffering. I was one of those with childhood trauma. I didn't have addictions, and I had a really good coping strategy for dealing with the suffering. Just distracting myself with fun and pleasure and adventures. I became an officer on the ships and sailing all over the world, and just distracting myself. But at some moments when there was too much sky over the head and too much ocean around and too much silence, you can't really distract yourself forever. So it was seeping in that there is more than just that play of avoiding pain. And yes, I think I started really I don't know if I ever started. I remember being a teenager, I was dyslexic. I could read like 10 times slower than everyone else, and I would still read some of the pointing, like Anthony de Mello or Osho, something that I would just come across, I would read, even though reading was a struggle. And then the time came, I joined some Zen sanghas, I think 3 different sanghas.
In
But
Poland?
yeah. In Poland.
Oh, really?
Although I used to go to Vietnam, I've been a couple of times in the monastery there for months. But 2 Zen sanghas, one was Kwan and another was Kanzeon, which was a big mind sangha too. All wonderful, all super helpful. But still, at that point, I couldn't hear what they are saying. I mean, a lot of things have landed, but the idea of no self was just too much for the mind. So eventually I ended up going to India, and that I had my introduction to non-duality. And that introduction, actually, everything landed straight away. And I ended up with that living without center for weeks altogether, just being an empty space, receiving sensations, thoughts, and just being a field of happening. But then I would go back to Poland, and the old habits of identifying as the body mind, or a poor, miserable little me who is not good enough, and who is right, or who is whatever. I mean, that would just creep in back into the picture until I came to Australia. And my ex-partner, with whom we had really traumatic, really painful relationship without any intention from either side. It was just incompatibility and a little bit too much suffering on both ends that just rubbed the wrong way. I mean, life needed to amplify the suffering to facilitate the clear seeing. And at some point, when I was actually ready to stop pretending that relationship is going to get us anywhere, it was just probably on the rock bottom, on my knees, of the pain and humiliation. I was already seeing Bob 2 or 3 times a week for his meetings. Between the contracts, of course, half of the time I was at sea working. But the time when I was ashore, I would come and see Bob. And at that point, that was the first and the only time when I actually saw him individually, one-on-one. When I came in and, I was self-collected. I was ship's officer. I wouldn't show feelings. I wouldn't cry in public. I wouldn't behave like a pussy. I was just a strong woman, one could say. And he saw me in tears. He saw me broken. And in that brokenness, I would just cry my eyes out that, look, I understand every concept that you say. I get it. I've seen it many, many times. Yes, there's no self, but that self keeps building itself. It keeps establishing itself, and it hurts. If there is no self, if there is no me, why is the suffering? What is it? What am I? I know I'm not the body, that's too easy. Of course, the body is constantly changing, yes. But, that vulnerable self, that emotional self, that suffering self, that part that fears rejection and fears humiliation, how is that not me? And then as I was actually describing the conceptual image that I had of myself, being that self, I was even actually making gestures like, see, my voice thinks that I am this self-collected, smart officer who is, who's got some skills and some life skills and whatever. He thinks this is what I am. This is not what I am. He's wrong. I am this emotional self, vulnerable self, showing nothing here and nothing there. And as I was describing those two nothingnesses, crying my tears out, it just stopped. Everything just stopped, and suddenly it was so obvious and so clear that there, equally I'm not this as I am not that. And perhaps my concept of myself was a little bit more alive, a little bit more sensitive or sentient than his, but was equally just a nonsensical concept. Like, how could I possibly be that concept? And everything stopped, the mind stopped. So there was no need to re-identify. There was no need to establish another image of what I am. And since then, I live without an image. I have absolutely no clue what I am, and I have no interest in finding out. I mean, who cares? It's just life outpouring. And his presence. And that, funny enough, next morning, I just woke. I hardly slept actually at night. It was suddenly that persistent silence, which haven't been there for like 40 years. So I woke up in the morning after very little sleep, but a lot of elation, a lot of like this whole heaviness of being encapsulated in that very tight costume of self-humiliating ideas of what I am. And I realized that, oh gosh, what am I going to do? It's a new day. Oh, what's happening? And the only thought that would show up, I'll call him. I see if he's free, if he wants to hang out. And I came and I said, look, I have no questions. I couldn't conceive of a question. There's nothing to ask. There's no one who has a question. Suddenly, everything is absolutely clear. There is nothing to be found. There's nothing to seek. So do you want to hang out? And he says, yeah, I can hang out. Tell me what you want. Give me a spiel. And I even have somewhere recordings from that very first couple of meetings that, I don't know, I never got back to it. And that was goodness. That was, yeah. many years ago. And then after a few weeks on hanging out, I went back to the ships. I went back to work, and then I went traveling the world, and I visited my mother, and went to, just have some more adventures. And when I came back, again, I just call him and ask if he wants to hang out. And he happened to be free to hang out. So we hung out more. And as we were hanging out weeks and weeks, and then we started having our own little adventures. He would show me a music he likes, and we would just form a beautiful friendship. And he would take me to the places that he liked, and we would have lunch together. And it kind of developed to a proximity infatuation out of a really, really close friendship, where if you don't have concepts, then the fact that he is twice my age wouldn't really matter.
That's beautiful. That's really, really so amazing.
Yes,
Yeah. And yeah.
from the other side of the world, we came together.
Yeah, life had it right. Life with its creative way of expressing and experiencing itself. It actually, it works in amazing ways.
Yeah, and this moment of just, finally having no question and finally having no attitudes towards anything, this is just amazing. And people can ask question, and why this and when that and this and that, and you suddenly have nothing, because there is no impression, it's just happening.
I actually really loved, I was telling Bob a moment ago, I loved how you put it, that thoughts have stopped to make impressions on you. What an amazing way to put it. Because that's what a great description. Yes, suddenly the thoughts become just thoughts. They're not truth, not reality. They don't matter. They may have some relative importance to the functioning, but they're not ultimate importance in anything really. They're just what they are.
Yeah, I had, even to that extent, the feeling was that when I came back home, I remember just having lots of books in my shelves. And I had to put cover on my shelves just not to see books, because the books also, it made me impression that there is somewhere to go where I am not yet, that there is something to grasp what I don't have yet. And at some point, I just couldn't see any books, nothing, especially about spirituality. I couldn't speak about those matters also. But what's interesting, that at some point, the words towards the freedom just appear. And they just appear, and you just can't stop it. They just appear. And and how is it for you, Bob, when you share? It's just happening. I know how it is, but I would like to hear it from you.
Whatever comes up. I don't know what I'm going to say. When I start talking, it doesn't matter either, because everything is that. It's all even and all equal, even though it appears in its diversity. And it couldn't be any other way. There's only that is all there is. So it comes out. Maybe before long it'll stop as the age goes on. I won't be able to talk.
Yeah. I like when you say, when you say that story, when people ask you if Nisargadatta gave you some whatever transmission and told you to speak, what do you answer then?
Oh, yeah. And Nisargadatta tell you to speak? I said no. And if he told me I couldn't speak, he couldn't have stopped it.
Yeah.
It just came out.
You have no saying. You have no saying.
I heard what he was saying, it resonated, and it took over.
Yeah. Exactly. It just takes over.
Yeah, Bob sometimes says, oh, you got to continue, you got to speak. When I stop speaking, you can keep going, you can keep the group going. And I say, well, it's not up to me. Yeah, it's totally, whether it happens or it doesn't happen, it's completely not up to me. And it's not right now, so why worry about it?
Yeah, but the clarity is so strong, and the point, the clarity which you get, which comes from your words, is so strong that it's. I will doubt if it will not happen. You know, it will happen, I guess. I mean, but we don't know, of course. But I really like to hear you,
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
and it's. I would love to hear you a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, gosh, because it's funny how I used to be really future oriented. I used to obsess about the future. I used to always leave a couple of steps ahead, plan the distractions, plan the adventures. And then at that point, the future completely dropped away. It completely died out. The interest in future completely died out.
Yeah.
And right now, I can't even, like people sometimes ask me, oh, what are you going to do when Bob dies? You're going to go and, go back to sea, or you're going to go back to Poland, or what you're going to do? Are you going to keep going here or whatever? I just can't even conceive of projecting those type of scenarios. It's so unthinkable to even project what is
Yeah.
now. And it's just what a waste of time.
Yeah.
Not up to me anyway. And whatever the life do is gonna be completely different. I mean, who knows? Life may take away the will of living. I may start learning how to fly without the parachute. Who knows? And who cares? And I have absolutely no fear of dying. And who cares?
Yeah.
He's the
Beautiful.
love of my life, that's for sure. I mean, I don't want to even project life without him, so I hope he's gonna hang out.
He's not dying. We are not dying, no?
No, no. And then
Yeah.
where is he gonna go anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you, Bob, could, you know, share a couple of words of the most important pointings to us, would you?
Well, the most important thing is you are that. That is all there is. And that is the basic space of phenomena. There's nothing you can conceptualize or think of that can be outside of space. Space has no beginning. So you can't say that at the beginning. It's got no end. It's nothing can be added to it, nothing taken away. It's got no shape or form. There's no thing, but it is absolute. Everything appears in space. So it can be nothing other than the space. Space is, well, they call it the basic space of knowledge. It's the base in which all things appear, but we ignore it. We take the concepts that are in space to be real and try and work it out in the mind. As the mind, they're all concepts. But space itself is absolute. And if you recognize that you are absolute, nothing can be added to you, nothing taken away. Who can be superior to you? Nobody. Who can be inferior to you? Nobody. And what would you want from anybody else? Nothing. That was all that. Only that. Space like awareness, they call it. The nature of phenomena is that which appears to be. It's all appearance, all seeming stuff. But no thing has ever happened. And something cannot come from nothing. So it's all like a dream, as Nisargadatty says. We're dreaming a dream we call the world. Stop looking for ways out. The dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. He says, love all of it or none of it. And the rest will be done for you. And that's so. Leave it as it is and things unfold naturally. And he says, nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination. When you look at that, that's true too. We imaging in all these concepts and ideas about ourselves, imagining. Just like you look at the mirror, what do you see? A reflection in the mirror or an image. You can't say that image is not there, but go up and try and grab the image out of the mirror. You can't say it is. So it's the same with this manifestation. It's all appearing to be so. The appearance is not how it really is. It's the non-conceptual, ever fresh presence of it. Just this, nothing else. And you and I and everything else is already that. And that's the great mantra. That is all there is. And we know that. I am that, because that's a chair, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the planets, the stars, everything's already that, which we've discriminated by the words we've learned. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. That's all that God is a word, another word. The Word was God. All things are made by Him, by the Word, and there's nothing made that was made without the Word. That's the trouble. We've learnt words and take the Word to be real instead of saying it's all the one life, the one essence, the one intelligence energy, or the one being, or whatever word you put on it. It just is.
Beautiful.
What's your favorite word?
What's my favorite words?
A word for, for pointing consciousness or awareness, space or God or love, or, everyone has a word. They all kind of symbol for something. What's your favorite?
It's every time I can't say I have a favorite. It's every time it just spontaneously comes. Sometimes I even use the word room for awareness. That this is a room. It's just a room. Everything what's in the room, and
yeah.
So it's I don't have my special word for that. It's spontaneously happened when I'm speaking, the way I use the word.
Yeah, beautiful. I like you use room. I actually like the word field. Bob uses
Field.
But stillness, silence, they're all kind of, pointing at the same thing. I like laughing at it really, because I had a friend who used to come to Bob's meeting and she says, look, I'm coming here for 25 years. And I still can't quite understand what's the difference. What's the difference between the space and the silence and the awareness and God? It's just so many gods.
Okay.
I'm not smart. Well, no, if you try to grasp it with the mind, no, absolutely, it's ingraspable. It can't be grasped.
Yeah, and we have this connotation with words, so it's good to use many of them. So the mind finally understand that it's not one word, it's not awareness, it's not consciousness. Even sometimes I speak to people and it's like, look, forget this word consciousness, because then you want to be conscious of something, and you will develop a relationship with something. So just forget it. It's not conscious.
Yes. Yeah.
Even put the word on it. The word, not the word.
Yeah. It's a symbolic language. We put symbols on everything.
Word water is not the word.
Not the word.
Can't drink the word.
Yeah.
Can't cook with the word fire.
No.
So this is why on this. It's not a concept.
Or word consciousness or awareness of life or essence or intelligence or whatever. They just blah blah.
And how something which is after can grasp what's before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really feel happy that I had a chance to talk to you. And I will be popping out to your meetings sometimes, just hearing and watching on YouTube, because I know you share 2 times a week, yeah, on YouTube. 2 times or once?
We do our home gathering. We do once on Sunday, and then we have 3 Zoom meetings, three times a week.
And one you share on YouTube was, as far as I remember.
Yes, actually once a week. The Zoom meetings we don't share because they don't really seem to get that many interest. I mean, if a couple of people ask me to upload it, I'll upload it. But if they don't, I don't bother.
Yeah, it's different. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Wonderful to hang out with you. Wonderful to meet you, to know that you're here.
Who knows, I might have a chance to come to Australia, but for now I don't know. But it's really lovely to have a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, please come if you can. Please hurry up. He's not getting younger.
You're full of it. It shines out of him.
It does shine out. Yes, it shines beautiful.
Mm,
And keep the
beautiful.
music.
Music. Yes, I mean, I was, I liked things to happen, and I can't stay still for a long time. That's why I have to do something, even with this non-dual message. Okay, let's do this through the music, or let's try to show it through the art or something, these pointings, because the word is one thing, the music also can translate silence very well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. The dance, the music, the silence between the words, the background, the nature in it. It was gorgeous clip.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hmm.